Hey everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. Today, I'm really excited to have on my show Kiss filmmaker Andrew Sgambati. We'll talk about his Kiss film, The Greatest Show on Earth, plus what else he has in store coming up in the next couple of months. We'll also talk about his time working with Gene Simmons on the Gene Simmons Moneybag Soda line. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Andrew. Well, let's just jump right in. So I guess before we even start talking about the films, let's talk about, you're a little bit younger than me. How do you get into Kiss?
It's funny. I was at that age. There was like this missing gap, this missing generation in Kiss fans. So I was born in '85, and at the time Kiss didn't have the makeup on. I really felt that looking back now, there really weren't a lot of new young Kiss fans. I felt like if you got into Kiss in the '80s, you were kind of already an adolescent or a young adult, or even in your later early 20s at this point, because you got into them because of the music. There was no cartoon theatrics to attract younger fans. So I feel like my generation is kind of that missing generation in Kiss fans.
Agreed.
There's certainly fans, two generations below me that love the band now, which I think is awesome. So I got into the band because I had the comic book. I have an older sister who was a fan in the '70s. So I had the comic book, and then I had an old Betamax recording of Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Nice.
And I don't know if it was an original airing or if it was one of the NBC late night airings in the mid-'80s.
Yep.
But I had this, and I had this comic book, and I kind of had other comic books at the time too. So there was like Batman, Ninja Turtles, and there was Kiss. I was really young at the time, and I didn't even know that they were a band. I just thought that they were another superhero group.
Right.
And I have a really, really distinct memory of walking into Kmart with my mother in 1988, 1989, and we saw the Good Times Kiss Meets the Phantom VHS. So she bought it for me.
Nice.
Still have it to this day. I'll
Awesome.
never, ever get rid of that. So when I initially got into the band, it was just because they were superheroes. They were larger than life. And then the music was forever seared into my brain because it's the soundtrack of Kiss Meets the Phantom. There's those 4 really great Kiss songs that are in there. So I knew what the music was even before I knew what music was.
Right.
And it grew from there. I've always loved this band, and they got me at a young age. And to me, I knew very early on that Batman and Ninja Turtles were fake, but Kiss was real. When they descended from the rafters like that on the Love Gun tour, that really happened. Gene Simmons actually blew fire.
Right.
Gene Simmons actually flew to the stage, and all these things actually happened. So I was around 10 or 11 years old when the reunion tour was really picking up steam and happening. So I was at that perfect age where
Absolutely.
I had liked them as a kid, and then as I was graduating into getting into music, they were coming to town.
Right.
And I haven't looked back since. I've been a diehard Kiss fan ever since.
And the reunion tour was your first tour that you went to?
First time saw New Year's Eve, 96, 97. I believe you were at the show, and you may not remember this.
Yes.
Off the Kiss FAQ about maybe it's almost 10 years ago now. I bought the Meadowlands Meltdown shirt from you because I obviously didn't get one that night.
Yep.
They had been sold out by the time I got in there. So you sold me that shirt. It's it's a centerpiece of my collection because it was that famed first time I saw the band.
Yes, and it's crazy. I remember that night, besides it being freezing cold.
Freezing cold.
The T-shirt sold out within like 30 minutes. Yeah, minutes. Exactly. And you couldn't get one. So I do remember selling it, and I'm glad it went to you because
it went to me. It's never going anywhere but in my collection. Actually, those first 3 shows that I saw, New Year's Eve at the Meadowlands, Psycho Circus tour at Madison Square Garden, and then farewell tour at the Continental Arena, the same place as the first show on the reunion tour. I have the event shirt from all 3 of those concerts because I feel like the event shirts were kind of special in the 90s.
Yep, I agree.
I feel like now they're much more mass produced than they were back then. So I'm very, very fortunate to have 3 event shirts from all 3 of those shows.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I never got the Madison Square Garden one from '96, and I just picked one up recently, maybe like less than a year ago. So, like you said, now that'll sit in my collection forever at this point.
Yeah, and those are cool. Those are really cool things. I know on the 2014 Kiss and Def Leppard tour, there were event shirts every night. I got one that night too, and I know some of the shirts now will, because it's the end of the road tour, they will list all the dates that they were in, whatever city that they happen to be in that night. Which is cool.
That's cool.
But for some reason, for me, those shirts from the '90s and the early 2000s are they're it for me. I love them.
Yeah, well, it's part of your childhood, and I'm sure that also plays a part of it.
Probably too. Yeah, they sold me back my nostalgia years later.
Absolutely, which kind of takes us right into the heart of what we want to talk about here, right?
Yeah.
So, what brought you into wanting to do this? You did the Greatest Show on Earth video. What made you want to do this?
It's funny. I had the idea to do something like this forever, for as long as I can remember. And the older I get, the more I kind of deep dive into 70s culture, 70s music, and 70s cinema. And if you look, all these other great bands, all these other, even middle of the road bands, they had these awesome films. The Band had The Last Waltz. Alice Cooper had a couple specials. Pink Floyd had a couple specials. Led Zeppelin had A Song Remains the Same. And what did we at Kiss fans get? We got Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Right. Cool in its own right, but very different.
In its own right. If that had been like the Scooby-Doo movie that we got a couple years earlier, that would have been kind of cool.
Right.
I mean, Kiss Meets the Phantom is cemented in 70s lore. So I take nothing away from that.
Yeah,
but to me, we never really got to experience Kiss bombastically live in the 70s. We never even got that in the 90s either. The 90s, we got The Second Coming. Right. Great video, but we just didn't get that live experience.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, you're like me. You've collected unofficial recordings for many, many years. Kiss, they just didn't sound as good as Alive 2 did. Everybody knows Alive 2, 3, and even the original Alive has a lot of overdubs. But
really?
it created this feel, and it just was missing. Yep. So I kind of looked at the video collection, and I centered on Kissology Volume 1. And I go, we had that Houston concert there. We also have this awesome concert from Largo 77. So I'm like, what if I took those concerts? What if I synced them the best I could to Kiss Alive 2? But I don't want to stop there. What if I told Kiss's story up until that point and showed TV clips and interviews and told this cool narrative where this was your video tour program. What if I did something like that? So I remember I live in Cleveland, Ohio now, but I was visiting family and friends in New Jersey in October of 2017. And I remember driving home. And when I do these long drives, there's only so much music and stuff that I can listen to. Yep. So I just opened up the notepad and I just turned the microphone on and I just was dictating to the notepad, just dictating these ideas, saying that the Land of Hype and Glory, that was the greatest 70s thing. So what if we did a movie kind of like the Land of Hype and Glory? What if we set it on Alive 2? And what if we told Kiss a story? And remember that cool video that Dave Stryker did, Kiss the Visual Evolution? What if we did that? What if we made it so it was like a movie? What would that look like? And I was just talking to this, and when I got home, maybe like a week or 2 or 3 went by, and I kind of started gathering footage. I gathered like footage of New York City in the 70s because I wanted this to be set in the 70s. And I just started piecing things together, just kind of throwing things together and going, what kind of feeling do I get on this? And then I went to the daunting task of taking the footage from Houston and Largo and syncing it to Kiss Alive 2. That took the longest time because, in the videos they played much faster, and Kiss was a band that they never really played the same speed or anything twice in a night. And
especially so I had Peter, to, Chris, right.
Especially with Peter, and even the whole band was the whole band was firing on all cylinders. So it was very, very, it wasn't very similar for all the things that we're using, because I'm syncing a video source and I'm syncing 2, sometimes 3 different things together and making them as one. So I had to speed up each shot, slow it down. I had to do this, I had to do that, just to make it look like it took me about a year to do that. And when I initially started teasing about it, I didn't have a name for it. I thought I was going to call it The Lost Alive 2 or Kiss Alive 2, the movie. And I was like, I don't know if I'd like this. And if you remember, there are a bunch of ads around the time where they said Kiss was the show of shows.
Yes.
And I misremembered it, and I thought it said the greatest show of shows. And then I was like, what if Kiss is the greatest show. What if I called it the greatest show on earth?
Right.
And I was like, that'll kind of work. And what's been cool is ever since I decided to call it that, I find Gene saying that. I find it in a magazine spread. There was a T-shirt of it in 96, 97. So I was like, the greatest show on earth. I go, that has a cool feel to it. So I made this teaser image even before the film was even done. And I threw it up. People started freaking out. People thought it was an official thing, and I had to kind of break it down to people. And I said, this is a fan film. And I was like, I want you to own the things that I used before you watch this, because it was never about making money for me. It was about editing something differently and creating a new experience. That's what it was about.
You've made that very clear every place online. You don't want this to be sold. You're not looking for a penny. You haven't monetized the videos anywhere. You're doing it strictly as a fan for the fans.
Correct. And I'm just creating something new
Yep.
out of something that's already there. There's a huge Star Wars fan film community. There's a huge fan film community in the world of cinema
Star Wars.
where people they edited Jar Jar Binks out of Episode 1,
Yep.
there's tons of fan films out there.
Yep.
And the more as technology goes farther for people to own in their homes, it's kind of taken it farther where what you can do in your home versus what you can do in the cinema. So where we can do more things at home than we could 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So as technology develops, the grip has kind of loosened on fan films, where the producers of the original film are kind of like, well, hey, if this is something that you're doing, don't make any money off of it, but we're not going to stop you.
Right. Yep. No, definitely. Now, have you done any kind of editing or anything like this before?
Yeah, I've been a filmmaker for years. I've actually, before I started The Greatest Show on Earth, I had produced 2, short films where I played the Joker. I wrote it, directed, and edited it. And I've done little video projects in those. I've always been an editor. Editing is my passion. It's my favorite thing to do. Mm-hmm. So for me, it just made sense to combine my 2 passions, KISS and video editing. So I was kind of able to sit down and do this. And it was a cool experience because I was making something new out of something that we had already seen 100 times.
Right.
It wasn't about uncovering new footage. It wasn't about leaking out new footage. It wasn't about anything like that. It was about taking stuff you've already seen and going, well, hey, what if we presented this the same way Led Zeppelin's Song Remains the Same was presented?
Yep. You touched on it a little bit before. So I grew up in the 70s in the New York area. I grew up in Brooklyn, just outside of New York City. But I love especially the first few minutes of the film that you did. And it shows a little bit of Rocky, a small clip, of Star Wars, a small clip of the blackout in New York City in 77. And it put me right back to being, at the time I was 7 years old. And it put me right back at that moment to feeling like I was a 7-year-old kid again. And, the whole film, I never felt like it brought me back into 2019, 2020. It was like I stayed there in 77. And I think you did an outstanding job just kind of creating that 70s feel and vibe. And to me, that was the coolest part of the whole thing.
Thank you so much. That's why I did it the way I did it. I wanted to make sure. There were definitely some things that I used from '79, and when I went back in and re-edited, I used the Tom Snyder interview because that was the longest interview, and I was able to keep the story at very cohesive without jumping around for different interviews. Mm-hmm. I wanted to keep it in the 70s because I didn't want to talk about Eric Carr, even though we love Eric Carr.
Course, yeah.
Didn't want to talk about the makeup. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. I wanted to keep it as a 70s film because, to me, this is what the fans should have gotten. The film starts out with they hit their visual peak in 77. It was never documented
Agreed.
until now.
Yeah.
So it was about creating that feel. And KISS was a New York band. People don't really understand that now. I think Asylum was kind of the last New York City KISS record.
Yep, absolutely.
Nothing wrong with the records that came after that. Nothing wrong with the progression of KISS after that. But there was definitely a change. Absolutely. You could feel the streets of New York on those early records, and you could feel the streets of New York out of almost anything KISS did.
Yeah.
And I think that was an important part of history. Mm-hmm. I think if KISS had come from anywhere else, they would have been a different band.
Oh, I agree. And you know what? Again, being a kid from New York in that time, I latched onto that. I latched onto the fact that, hey, these guys are New Yorkers just like me.
Just like you.
I never heard at the time Gene's from Israel or anything like that. To me, there were 4 New York kids. And if it was them, maybe 15 years from now, it could be me, even though I never played an instrument and I can't sing for my life. But that's what I thought as a kid.
Exactly. And me being a kid from New Jersey, I romanticized New York. Mm-hmm. And I romanticized everything about New York. So for me, KISS in New York was synonymous.
Right.
And you could hear it even in their voices and how they speak and how they talk about the city. You could tell that this was a New York band. So it was very, very important to call back to that. Yeah. So all the shots in there are actual stock footage shots from New York City from the 70s. Mm-hmm. It was either old silent Super 8 film or things like that, or maybe I grabbed a piece from Newsweek that was showing the Soul album billboard. Oh no, excuse me, the Alive 2 billboard in Times Square.
Mm-hmm. That's all very cool.
That was cool. I saw that. I go, man, I got to put that in there. Mm-hmm. And it was about just telling a story, because there's still a story in the film. It's not just here's the next song and here's this song and here's that song. There is a story. It tells the KISS story. It tells them how they got started and why they wear the makeup and their backgrounds. And it does, I mean, the Tom Snyder interview does a great job in piecing all that together and telling you this great story in between these awesome songs that you're able to see for the first time in bombastic stereo. Take nothing away from the Kissology series, but you can tell the limitations of the sources that they used. These concerts that we're looking at, they weren't shot for massive releases. They were shot by in-house cameras, or they were shot for cameras that were used to magnify the band.
Yep, absolutely.
There's a great show from Anaheim 1976 that was definitely just handheld cameras for the giant screens on either side of the stage. So it wasn't shot to release Kiss at Anaheim. It just never worked. I mean, the thing about the Largo concert is, Dick Clark did produce that, and it was going to be used for the American Music Awards and Dick Clark's Golden Greats in 77, 78. So there was a little bit more TV production that went into it.
It shows. It definitely shows in that video,
But, it was taking this footage and just presenting it in a different medium.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned this before. You went through a few edits. I believe, and maybe I'm wrong with this, correct me please if I'm wrong, there's been at least 3 different versions, slightly different, but 3 different versions that you put up online. Am I correct in saying that?
You are actually correct. You're right on the money on that one.
Right.
There was an original edit that and then I went back in almost right after it, and I had to remove a certain part that I was getting copywritten flag for.
Okay.
So I removed a certain part, and then I decided at one point in time that I was going to take it and kind of spit shine it again. And because initially I didn't crop any of the footage into widescreen. And then I did that once I re-released the Encore edition. So to me, just like George Lucas, the Encore edition is the definitive version.
I swear I was going to call you George Lucas, but I was like, you might be offended. I don't want to do that.
No. I mean, listen, George Lucas is one of the greatest independent filmmakers of all time. I'm a guy that edits movies in his spare times and that does it just for the sheer enjoyment of it. But the Encore edition is the definitive version of it. It's what should have been. I had never done something like this before, so when it was actually first of all, I didn't know if I was actually going to complete it, and if I did complete it, was it going to be any good?
Right.
So once I was able to complete it and it was kind of able to simmer it a little bit, I knew that I had to go back in and I had to redo it and just make everything look good. Brand new color correction, brand new edits. I was able to the sync was at about 80% before, and I was able to take it and move it to 95%, my opinion.
Right. Okay.
And the color correction, it just really brings the life out of this video footage to make it kind of look like it was shot on film.
Yeah.
So so you're right. There are 3 versions. The original 2 versions, they're in the Andrew Kiss vault forever now.
Okay.
But the Encore edition, which is the definitive edition, which I'm probably going to drop the Encore edition tagline here very, very soon.
Okay.
Is the edition that's going to be available forever to stream on Vimeo.
Nice. Now, I know that you also had a couple of public airings of this. One, unfortunately, was while I was on the cruise, so I couldn't go, even though it was in my backyard. Right. So I think you did one on Long Island, and was the other one Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, that was in Cleveland. Yeah, you're correct. So I did this screening. There was a guy who is in a Kiss tribute band who does these Halloween screenings of Kiss stuff, and then his band plays. So he had contacted me to do that. So it was an awesome event. It was great. And then we did one here in Cleveland, and I was able to open it up as a fundraiser, which I've done several of these.
Nice.
And I was able to donate a bunch of school supplies to a local school, and then a bunch of canned goods to a women and children's shelter.
That's awesome.
So both of those were awesome. So I didn't make a single dime from either, and I wanted to make sure that I gave back to the community in a way. So and there is when is this going to air, by the way?
I'll probably put it up in the next week.
Okay, so I can say this now, so because we are going to announce it tomorrow, which is the day after we're recording this, but it will be screened in August in Nashville in conjunction with Rockin' Pod.
Oh, very cool.
So that is going to happen. So
very nice.
Check rockinpod.com for the details on that, just in case this airs before it comes. So we'll have them. We'll
awesome.
still give them the exclusive. So it's cool. I'm very, 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 very pleased with the response. It's almost been unanimously positive. Of course, there have been haters. Of course, there have been whatever. But the fans love it, and I'm trying to. The way I feel about Kiss is how I'm trying to make other people feel about Kiss. If you're not a Kiss fan and you watch this, you might be a Kiss fan after watching it. Yeah. It takes you inside the inner sanctum and shows you this band as personal as you can get. I mean, to my knowledge, there's no 70s footage available of them out of makeup. That would have been the only thing that would have taken this over the edge. But
sure.
this takes you behind there and takes you inside, and it also puts you front row at a 70s Kiss show. How it can't get any better than that.
Can't get any better. I agree. Yeah. So before you mentioned you've heard Gene say a few times the expression "the greatest show on earth." Yeah. Has he ever spoke or commented to you about the film, or anybody from the band for that matter?
Nobody has. So there's a nasty rumor going around that I was issued a cease and desist on this film. I have not.
Okay.
The reason why it was removed from YouTube is because YouTube's algorithms picked it up. It wasn't because someone stopped me from doing this or McGee Entertainment or Gene stopped it. It's not how it happened. It's still available to stream on Vimeo. No one in the band has commented on it. I'm sure they've seen it. And also nobody in the band, nobody that represents the band, and no one in the band's legal team has ever contacted me to stop it or take it down. So to me, that says, well, hey, you're doing it for the right reasons. I've been very, very outspoken that this isn't for profit. Don't download it. Don't copy it. Don't make DVDs of it. Don't be selling it for $10 a pop. Just don't do it. You can log on and stream it at any time, through any smart device, whether it's your smart TV, your computer, or your tablet or your phone. So do that. And if you love it, go and buy Kiss Alive 2 on vinyl. It was just re-released in 2014. Or go buy tickets to a Kiss show, or send a message to kissonline.com and says, hey, I bought a T-shirt because I love this fan film, The Greatest Show on Earth. Support the film by supporting Kiss. So no one in the band has commented on it, but I'm 99.99999% certain they know about it.
I would think so. They know everything that's going on, so I'd be shocked if they didn't know about it. Yeah. And to your point, right up the front of the video, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you even have like a little plug to buy Kiss Alive 2 and all of that type of stuff.
That's correct. I re-edited the Kiss Alive 2 commercial, and instead of saying Kiss Alive 2 available at Sam Goody, I said it's available for streaming now or at your local music retail location of choice. Yeah.
So to me, it also helps the band. Hopefully, like you said, there's some kid that's online seeing this for the first time saying, damn, that band is cool. What album did he say to go buy? Kiss Alive 2. Let me go download that right now, So,
from Apple Music or Amazon or Spotify or wherever it is. Support Kiss support this film by supporting Kiss.
Yeah.
And this is something that's really made for the diehards. The diehards, they love stuff like this. So I'm assuming and I hope that the diehards that do watch this already own Kissology Volume 1 and already own Kiss Alive 2 on multiple formats.
Yes.
So there's no law. And the law is very gray when you get down to it. If you own something, and I'm re-editing what you already own. I'm saying that I don't own this.
Right.
But you as a viewer, you're watching this, and you already own what I've used to put it together. So there's very much a gray area in all of this. And to my knowledge, no one has ever been successfully prosecuted regarding anything like this.
Yeah. And I'm sure nobody's coming after you. And you know what? I'll say this comment also. Like you mentioned before, I collect all things Kiss, all the audio, all the video. I've got probably close to over 1,000 tapes just of Kiss and 5,000 of all different bands. So I'm a concert bootleg whore like that, right? Yeah. My best friend growing up was almost the opposite. He thought all that type of stuff was low quality and he couldn't watch it or listen to it. That maybe 24, 48 hours after you put your film up on the internet, he messages me, hey, do you see this film that Andrew put up, The Greatest Show on Earth? This is incredible. This is the best Kiss thing I've ever seen in my life. And I said to him, I thought you don't like unofficial stuff. He's like, no, this crosses over to a whole nother level. So, to me, I know you don't know my friend, but that's when I said you must be onto something. Because there's a guy for 30 years, if I whip out a bootleg, he's like, that doesn't look good. That doesn't sound good. So,
that's incredible. And there have been so many people that have the same type of reaction or they're like, this took me back to the 70s. I mean, it's got over 100,000 views across all the different platforms that it's been on. And like I said, there's been almost unanimously positive reviews of people that love it and can't wait to see it again. And a lot of famous people have seen it. People in Ace's band, people in Gene's band have seen it. It's something very, very, very cool to see someone get off on, Kiss footage that I made. I'll tell you a funny story about this. Like I said, I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it and if I was going to do it, if it was going to be any good. So my roommate, who I've lived with for about 5 years now, she is not a Kiss fan.
Okay.
But I kind of put it on and she was kind of coming in and out watching it. And after it was over, I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest Kiss thing. I've made it. And she agreed.
Right. Right.
And I'm just saying that because I made it because I fully expected this thing to suck. I did. You know, when you're watching it and I mean, it took me a year to edit this thing.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing that, I'm like, man, this is no good. I'm tired of editing it. This is just not keeping my interest. But when I finally sat down, got off the computer, watched it on a TV, I was like, oh my God. First of all, why hasn't somebody else done this before? Maybe they were scared about the copyright laws, or maybe just because we have the technology available as far as YouTube and Vimeo. Maybe they never took advantage of that.
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think I'm not a genius because I just literally fell into a river of gold. The river's not mine. The gold isn't mine either.
Right. Absolutely.
But it's just I just had this idea and I went for it. And the success has very little to do with me. The success has everything to do with the people that watched it, talked about it, and shared it. And I'm floored by the reaction. I'm so thankful that people loved it. I really am.
No, definitely people love it. And I know I saw you post, I guess, a couple of months ago that you're already working on your next project, which I think is called like One Last Time, New York City Live or something like that. So, what's going on with that?
So I've shot a bunch of footage around the end of the road tour on the different cities that I went to. I did a pre-party here in Cleveland. I went down to Columbus. I went out to Mohegan Sun, did this. So I shot a bunch of footage and I go, well, what if I did Iron Maiden Flight 666? What if I did that type of film for Kiss and following me and my history with the band around the end of the road tour? So it was going to be, I was going to drop it in February, but I hit some snags and I am going full steam ahead. It is coming out. Probably around April it'll be out for everybody to check out and for everybody to see. So I'm excited. It's going to be, the same thing. It's going to be completely unofficial, a fan film. And the difference about this footage is a lot of it is my personal footage. So, hopefully people dig that. And it's kind of based around the New York concert. I know friends, they shot a bunch of pre-show footage and, it's something really, really, really cool. So that's the next thing that's coming down the pike. It's called One Last Time. Live from New York City, and it'll be streaming on YouTube and Vimeo soon.
Okay.
Soon.
And it sounds like it's all going to center around the end of the road tour. So how many concerts have you been on that tour? Just out of curiosity. Did you just go like last week or something?
I did just go last week. Hold on, I'm going to tell you right now because I keep all my concerts in here.
I do the same exact thing.
I've been to 39, so I'm hoping to hit 40 here pretty soon.
Wait, 40 on this tour alone?
No.
Oh, I was going to say,
since
holy
1996.
Crap. Nice. No, that's still nice. Very, very impressive. Very impressive. Very cool.
7. I've seen them 7 times on this tour, which is more than any other tour that I've seen. So 7 times on this tour.
Nice. Very nice.
So it was Grand Rapids, Columbus, Cleveland, Mohegan Sun, Jacksonville, Florida on my birthday, Cincinnati, and Buffalo.
Nice. Very cool. And to me, that's one of the things, kind of going back to the film for a moment, that's one of the things I love about the fact somebody like you did the film, because as you know, with Kiss fans, there's so many that are only 70s, don't like the current, but you're just a Kiss fan, right?
I love everything.
You might have a preference, right? Everybody does.
Everybody has a preference, but I love everything.
Right, absolutely.
Because this isn't going to be around forever, as we know. So for me, I still get enjoyment out of this.
Absolutely.
And this is, anytime I go see Kiss or anytime I talk about Kiss or anytime I do something Kiss related, it's my bowling night. This is what I like. This is my hobby. Am I a little fanatical about this hobby? Sure. Anyone would be fanatical if they liked the same thing for over 30 years. I'm 35 years old. I consider I became a Kiss fan at 3 years old when we're dancing around and all that stuff. And you'll see that in One Last Time. You'll see me as a kid just dancing around. So for me, I've been a Kiss fan for 32 years, my entire life.
That's so cool.
And I've met people like you. I've met, some of my best friends throughout Kiss. And, it's still cool for me. I still enjoy it.
Right. Yeah. And you've been involved in so many different things also. And before you were doing this, so many people knew you from some of the tribute bands that you were playing in.
Yeah, I played in a couple different tribute bands over 15 years and, portrayed Peter Criss. And people used to say I look just like Peter Criss in the makeup. So, I thank people for supporting whatever I did at that point and coming to see my band or telling me I look cool or asking for a picture. But that was really cool. When that wasn't fun for me anymore, I left and now I'm doing these cool videos. I've always had a passion for video editing. I took video classes in high school and I always had a passion for this. So once I was able to kind of get the music thing out of the way and free up some time, I was able to, hunker down and work on this stuff. People know me from Kiss podcasts. So if you've watched any of the shows I've been on, thank you so much for doing that and supporting that. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There will be a new show very
Okay.
soon.
All right. What's that about?
That's all I will say.
Okay.
But and I will tell you this,
Mm-hmm.
it is the biggest thing I've ever worked on,
Wow. Okay.
bar none.
A
Bar
show
none.
like a podcast or another film, and you don't have to elaborate if you don't want to.
It's just going to be another podcast /
Okay.
radio show, and
Nice.
it's going to be very, very, very cool.
Nice. Nice.
So once I can talk about it, I will. But
Awesome.
it's coming. It's coming.
No,
I'm
definitely.
very excited.
I look forward to that. Going back to your editing before, to me, one of the things I love about the film also,
Mhm.
you mentioned before, like all the different sources, all the different clips. When you watch the film, they all seem like they were from the same source, the same quality. Like to me, as a collector for so many years, that blows my mind that from one clip to the other, the quality basically looked almost identical from one to the other. How did you do that?
There was a lot of color correction. So what I did is you say, okay, well, what looks the best here, and you
Hmm.
make everything look like that.
Hmm.
And so I used to do it. I would take like chunks of songs, and I would say, okay, well, this is going from Largo to Houston to Largo, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna take a chunk, and I go, let me try to make this all look the same, and I would just. All right, this one has more blue, and this one maybe has more. You got to take the green out of this, and maybe the blacks in there are a little crushed, and
Hmm.
it's just trial and error. And then once you get a good base, you take that base and you apply it to the entire film,
Hmm.
and then you go through and you just adjust here and there. Okay, all right, well, this black is a little deeper here, so let me do this, or this is here, and you just adjust, from there on.
Hmm.
And that took almost as long as the syncing of the audio,
Oh, I could imagine.
making sure. And then also you need to understand too that everything was shot in 4:3 and full screen. So I did crop it quite a bit. So I cut off the top and the bottom, but
Hmm.
just in doing that, I may have had to move the shot up or move the shot down to make
Hmm.
sure like heads weren't cut off and I was focusing on the right piece of the frame.
Hmm.
So some of the shots I just did a straight zoom in on it.
Hmm.
And some of the shots I had to adjust to see where this is and what it's going to look like once it's matted in widescreen.
Hmm.
So it was difficult. It really was difficult because not only was I concerned about making the audio sync convincing, because if you don't know, you cannot tell
No, I agree.
that you're watching 3 different things at once.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there.
So I had to make sure that not only was the sync good, I had to make sure that is this believable as being one performance.
Hmm.
Because the lighting is different every night, and they have a yellow light here, and can I take the yellow out? And it was a lot of trial and error. It really was. There's no manual on how to do this. It's just
Absolutely.
you have to look at it and go, okay, let me figure out what's going on.
Hmm. I saw, and maybe I misread this, or maybe it was mistyped. I saw online you posted on, I guess, the latest edition, that there were over 600 edits from the original version to the latest version. Did I read that wrong? Or
There's more than 600 edits, but you're right.
that is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah, so like I think when I counted, I think there was between 32 and 3,300 initial
Oh my
edits.
God. Wow.
And then there was an additional 600 to 700 that I went in that weren't in the original one. And what I would do is I would just, okay, well, you're watching a song and it goes from Paul to Gene to Peter. So at first I would separate each shot.
Hmm.
And then I would say, well, I got to speed this up. I got to slow this down. I got to zoom in here. I got to correct that color. So
Mhm.
every time I went in and had to do something, that's a different edit.
Hmm.
So yeah, there's around 600 new edits from the original edition to the Encore edition.
Right.
And like I said, at some point, and I've already kind of started doing this,
Mhm.
I'm not calling it the Encore edition anymore. The only reason why I did that is because I wanted people to rewatch it.
Mhm.
And they did, which was awesome. So thank you for that.
Hmm.
But again, the Encore is going to fade away, and then it's going to be this is just the definitive edition
No,
of the
makes
greatest
sense.
show on earth. Yeah.
And the biggest compliment to me that I can give is I'm so familiar with those bootlegs, right? All the interviews, everything. I've watched
Yeah.
them 1,000 times over. But as you watch this whole thing, I would never have guessed there was 3,200 edits in this, right? Because it just flows that seamless and seems like that much of just one film that I'm floored right now, 3,400. No wonder why. It must have taken you not just years, but hours and hours. How many hours did you work on this?
Oh my God, I don't even know. I don't even know. I would work my 9 to 5, and then I would come home and edit till almost midnight every night.
I can imagine.
And then on the weekends I would just wake up at 10 o'clock and then edit until 10 o'clock at night. It took me so long, but I was loving every minute of it
Hmm.
because I was working on I was doing my favorite thing, which is video editing and watching my favorite band. So for me, it was so cool. I'll tell you my favorite part about the film.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's when Ace is kind of talking about, his background, and it's right before the song "I Want You."
Okay.
And then it goes to a shot of a sunrise over a city, and it kind of blends into Paul saying, "In the morning, I raise my head," and you're kind of seeing the sunrise, and it fades to them going out. So I was like, that's kind of cool. That's a total 70s thing that they would have done.
Oh, absolutely.
You're listening to Zeppelin, you're watching, kids like frolicking in a field, or you're seeing John Bonham in the opening credits, like with the Tommy gun. So for me to get that, I was like, that's a totally cool thing. The sun's coming up and he's raising his head, so it's kind of metaphorically, spelling the song out for you. So that's my favorite part of the film. Every time I watch that, I go, wait, hold on. Watch this.
Oh, that's so cool. And to me, how well it's done makes me that much more excited for the next one to come out, and maybe the one after that and the one after that. So
well, I was just talking to Julian Gill of Kiss FAQ last week, and for now, One Last Time will be my last Kiss film.
Oh.
For now.
For now, okay.
For now, I mean, there's other things that I want to do, and this new project of this podcast that might take up some time of mine. So, but for me, One Last Time, it is going to be One Last Time, and it's going to be my send off. I'm hoping that it's better than the official Kisstory that's coming out, and it will be out before Kisstory. Mark my words on that one.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it because look, I think I've been to 13 shows now on this tour alone. So to me, this is going to be like this film. I'm expecting to be almost like my keepsake of the tour. And I was at the Madison Square Garden show, so I'm excited over it. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and if you, like I said, if you watch Iron Maiden Flight 666, you'll kind of get a good idea as to what this is going to be, and the story that's going to tell. And I had to center it around Madison Square Garden because that's the pinnacle if you're a Kiss fan or if you're in the band Kiss. I mean, they always wanted to play the Garden, and we're going to center the film around that. So that's what's on the table right now. It's so cool how I'll still talk to Kiss fans and they won't know what the greatest show on earth is. And then I'll send them a link. They'd be like, oh my God, how did I miss this?
Right.
It's cool to see that reaction still, that people are still digging it and people are still liking it.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned before that you were Peter Criss, and like you said, you were, to me, a spot-on Peter Criss. There's times I'm on Facebook, I'm scrolling through, and I actually see a picture of you and think it's the real Peter Criss, right?
Oh, that's
so was that like your guy from the 70s? Was Peter like, if you look back to the 70s? Or?
No, it was kind of one of those things where I wanted to play drums because I was a huge Tommy Lee fan.
Okay.
And it just was like, well, if I'm going to play drums, I'll portray Peter Criss in a Kiss tribute band because they're my favorite. So I remember at a young age, I was like looking at Gene, I go, well, I probably can't do that. And then I look at Ace, I go, I probably can't do that. I look at Paul and he's like doing splits and whatever, I go, I probably can't do that. And I look at Peter and I go, I could probably do that. Right. That was, so it sprouted from there. I mean, I'm basically retired from drums at this point now. I don't love it like I used to.
Gotcha.
But it's all right. There's things change in life, and that was one of the things that changed for me. I love making these films. I love making these movies. I'm hoping that after One Last Time is wrapped, to do another original film where I write the screenplay and something that I could maybe enter in some film festivals.
Yeah,
something away from the Kiss world.
You'll have to send me the original ones that you did if you don't mind, because I don't think I've ever seen those. I'd love to kind of check them out.
Yeah, you can check out. It's Incognito Films on YouTube.
Okay.
There's 2 of them on there right now. They're both DC Comics films. Okay. So check them out. I'll send you a link.
Yeah.
But I've done little editing projects here and there for a lot of other things. I mean, I used to edit Kiss My Wax and Kiss My Collectibles. And, I did a bunch of editing for, you'll probably get this a little bit later, Gene Simmons Moneybag Soda. I did a bunch of their promotional videos when they were launching it, and then they were doing in-stores with Gene. So I did that. So there's a ton of editing. And like I said, I edit in my spare time. I work a 9 to 5, which I love doing. I love what I do for work. Okay. So the editing thing is just fun for me. I don't want to work for some big-time editing house where I have to edit every day and do this. It won't be fun for me at this point. Right. This is something I do fun in my spare time.
That's very cool. Now, you mentioned the Gene Simmons Moneybag thing, right? So I remember, I think it was his last solo show was upstate New York, and I think he did the in-store that afternoon, which I was at. And I remember seeing you there, and you were videotaping for him. How did it come about that you connected with Gene on that?
The guys that work for Gene Simmons Moneybag Soda, Paul and John Janik, they live in Buffalo, New York,
Okay.
and they were fans of Kiss My Collectibles. So they had seen me at the Buffalo Kiss show in 2017, and we just struck up a friendship. And they were like, "Hey, we want to send you some soda." I was like, "Well, that's really nice of you."
Mm-hmm.
And they had said they were getting ready to launch the soda in September of 2018 and do these little events with Gene.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Hey, if you ever need any videos, just let me know. I'll do it for you." And they were like, "Well, hey, we talked to Gene. We want to do some videos, and whatever you do, it has to go through him, and he'll approve it, and he'll work with you on it." And it ended from there. So I think I did like 12 videos for them at the time. One of them was on Kiss Cruise in 2018,
Yep.
I believe it was.
I remember seeing that. Yep.
And it was very cool. I could say I worked for Gene Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember there were days where Gene called me and he was like, "I like this, I like that, change this, change that."
Mm-hmm.
So for me, that was a thrill
Mm-hmm.
to do that. Just recently, I helped design a poster with some Japanese artwork on it because I guess there's going to be a Japanese special on Gene Simmons coming here really soon. So I did some stuff for that, and it's really cool. I mean, every time the guys are like, "Hey, Andrew's going to come and film this. Is that okay?" He's like, "Sure," and then he calls me Paul McCartney.
Yep. I remember that when I saw you there that day. He's like, Paul. I'm like, "Paul, no, that's Andrew." And you got to explain to me what that was.
So there's a really funny thing. We did these Moneybag Soda events, and at one point I hadn't eaten all day, so I shoved this cookie in my mouth, and as I'm chewing the cookie, Gene is looking at my Japanese Kiss plushies,
Okay.
and he's trying to talk to me, and I'm just like, my mouth is completely full, and he just looks up and he just smiles. He goes, "Paul McCartney," and then. Later on in the day, we had on these Gene Simmons Moneybag hoodies for the Moneybag event, because what we do is, we have different clothing that they don't sell that we just wear as like the staff for Moneybag.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "I didn't realize you guys made that." And they're like, "Yeah, we got one for you too." They're like, "Do you want one?" Gene's like, "Yeah." He's like, I want one in a men's size.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I go, "Wait, Gene, are you implying mine isn't a men's size?" He goes, "It's not."
Oh.
So it's just it's funny to have that kind of joking relationship with him, and I've seen the human side of Gene, and the guy he's a people person. He's a lot of fun to be around, and it's cool. I mean, I'm assuming you saw shots on Facebook that other people shot Gene driving around the Top supermarket in a little buggy, I was there that day, and it was cool to see him do that.
Uh-huh.
And in one of the clips, you could see me walking around with him. So it's cool.
I'll check that out.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Gene's not going to call me on Christmas, but when I'm around, he knows me as Paul McCartney.
Right.
He gave me that nickname years ago, and it's something he remembers.
Didn't you have the top of your vault signed something like that, if I remember right?
The top of my vault, it says, "To Andrew, you really do look like Paul McCartney."
That's awesome. That is so awesome.
And it was cool. He actually gave that name to me in 2009. I was backstage, and he was just like, "Hey, Paul McCartney," and that's where it started. And and then I don't think I had been in a one-on-one situation for a couple of years. And I remember I'm with him, and I asked him for a picture, and he goes, "Sure, I'll give you a picture." And he whispers in my ear, "Paul McCartney." And I was like, "You remember?" He goes, "Of course." He's like, "Of course I remember. Of course I remember that." And it was cool. It was cool for me. Like I said, the guy's not going to call me on a Tuesday and ask me how my day is.
Right.
But I'm allowed to. I'm given this little bit of access that I'm super grateful for, and it's very, very cool. It's very, very cool.
Yeah. So think back to 1985, right, when you first became a fan. Now imagine telling that kid over there at that time, hey, one day you're going to work with Gene Simmons.
Yeah, and he's going to have a nickname for you.
And he's going to have a nickname, right?
And he's going to call you at work one day and talk about a video that you're doing for him.
Right.
It's cool. It's cool. And this is a lot of this is really thanks to Paul and John Janik from their parent company is Johnny Ryan Soda, but they manufacture Gene Simmons Moneybag Soda. So a lot of thanks goes to them. Because they're the ones that bridge it. They're the ones that like, hey, we want to do this video, and they had to put it past Gene, and they're the ones that include me in all this stuff. So a lot of this is thanks to them. I couldn't be doing what I'm doing without them. So I'm super thankful that they keep me around. I'm super thankful that they call me a friend and I call them a friend, and it's awesome. They're two of it's a family owned business. John's wife, Janine, is super sweet, super awesome. Paul's wife is great, and it's cool. It's really, really cool to be part of that group and part of that clan. So it's awesome. You know, when I went to see the show in Buffalo, we hung out for a couple days and just, you know, ate a bunch of hot dogs and stuff together because Ted's Hot Dogs is big in there. And it's cool. You know, it's really, really cool.
Okay.
You know, when the Dirt came out in March, they invited me over to, you know, come and hang out and watch the Dirt with them. And it's
cool.
It's really, really cool. These are great people, and I'm proud to call them friends. I really am.
That is so awesome. And, you know, I think I know by face the people, but they don't know who I am from a hole in the wall, which is totally fine. But, you know, when I think of the Gene Simmons Money Bag Soda, you know, I think the first time I tasted it was at the Vault in New York. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to have one because I'm at the Vault. It's a Gene Simmons thing. I'll take the bottle home. It'll be a cool collectible. And when I had it, and I hate to say this because I don't want to give Gene any more money. No offense, Gene, if you ever watch this. But damn, it's good. It's good. It's good.
It's an old style, you know, soda recipe. It's made with real cane sugar, and it's good. You know, the cola. I'm not a cola drinker, but the cola is good. The cola Diet Cola is great, but the root beer is outstanding. The ginger ale is my favorite. Ginger ale is Gene's favorite too, and the cream soda is awesome. The bottles that are designed awesome, you know, all glass bottles. These 4-packs are really awesome. You can get them at some top supermarkets as well as Wegmans, and, you know, check moneybagsodas.com where you can even order right from the website. And I implore you to do so. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, I'm connected with them. The stuff is actually awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, there's a Rocket Fizz, I think is the name of it, right over here. And I've actually gone there a few times and bought it. And then I hate to say this, sorry, Kiss fans, I threw away the bottles. Okay, I didn't buy it as a collectible. I bought it because I'm like, that's a good soda. I'm going to go get a bottle.
Do you know how many bottles I've thrown out?
So Kiss fans right now are yelling at us, send it to me, I'm taking it for free.
Probably. Just because I'm able to drink so much and I'm able to get so much of it. They've been very, you know, graceful to give that stuff. They've been very, you know, open, and it's very, very awesome that they do that. So I freaking love it. I really do.
Yeah, no, me too. So, you know, you touched on before that you used to be on like Kiss My Wax, Kiss My Collectibles.
Yeah.
To me, you know, one of the things I love, and we share this in common, you know, I've actually sold off a lot of my collectibles in the last 10 years. And instead.
Yeah, as you got a bunch of guitars on the wall behind you.
And that's I think 2 of the 11 that I have. Now, mind you, I do not play guitar. Okay, so they're all just for display. But in the last few years, I got into like doing the Gene Simmons bass experience and the masterclass. Going on the cruise to see Paul Stanley do a private show with 150 people. I couldn't afford that crap. So what did I do? I sold off all my collectibles except my tour books.
Oh,
except my
that's
tour
my
books.
favorite thing. I'm a tour book guy too.
I know. So I love when you post about them. I've seen you do like pictures online with all of them, and you've done pictures recently about like the whole end of the road thing. That is the only collectible I would not sell besides my own stuff from childhood.
Yeah. And my vinyl and my tour books are the things that I won't sell. I have a bunch of 70s toys, which are awesome, but I'm really, I'm very, very picky with what I collect. Very, very picky with what I collect. So, you know, those tour books are awesome. I'm only missing like, I think 2 or 3.
Okay.
I did find out that there was a European version of the End of the Road tour book. So it's a V2, but it has different European credits in the back. Yeah. Everything else is exactly the same. So I got to add to the 5 versions already that I have, which you saw my post the other day where I broke down all the versions. It's interesting how much has changed.
You know what? I knew that there were 5 versions, but I couldn't figure out how to tell them apart. And then somebody kind of tipped me off on the back, like the second to last page on the bottom right-hand corner.
Yep,
there's a V1, there's a V2, a V3. There's no V1, right? They just left that one blank.
Correct.
But like you said, I just found out like 10 days ago myself, the European version, right? It says V2. So there's 2 V2s, but somebody said, and I haven't seen it with my own eyes yet, that 2 of the pages inside the book on the European version are flip-flopped.
So I thought that there was the V2 without the page flip, and there was a V2 with the page flip. I don't know yet. So, but I do know that there's a European V2.
Right, and I know you could tell from the credits on the back.
Yes.
Who printed the book? So that's the definitive way to tell. But I've heard, I think it's the 77 and the 79 page were like flip-flopped.
You are correct.
So
you are correct.
It gives us just something else that it's 6 tour books just from this tour now to go find.
Listen, if someone has one, please let me know. I will purchase it off of you.
Yeah, I've been looking for a European one myself, and you know, it's hard because most people don't realize that there's those.
Most people do not realize it.
Most people didn't realize there were 5 versions, so I knew that when you posted it. I'm like, thank you, you made this clear for me. So yeah, but I love the tour books.
Me too.
I think
Two.
I'm missing one, maybe of like the Alive 35 ones, because they all start to blur together to me, all
Well,
those.
there's four of those, and I'm
Yeah.
missing one because there's one where it's just printed in the USA, then there's one that's printed in Europe, and the only difference is the cover type. One's glossy versus one's matte.
Okay.
So something like that, I probably won't be super, if I find it cool, if I don't, I still consider my collection complete, in
Right.
my opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, I'm sure neither one of us have the Return of Kiss 79
No, I don't
book.
count that one either.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
don't count. But
Since
there are three
we can't
Dynasty
afford it.
versions. There are three Dynasty versions.
Three. All right. So let me think. I know the Gene ad. I know the Paul ad. And then you're not counting
All
the
right.
Return of Kiss, right?
No, so there's different pictures and there's different pages. So there's live pictures and live pages. So I think maybe the next one I'm going to do is going to be a Dynasty. Actually, I think you heard it here first. I'm going to start a Facebook page on Kiss tour books.
Amen.
And I'm going
Love
to go
it.
over all of them.
Love
and
it.
I'll just take pictures of them and show you the differences because it's interesting to
Yeah.
see the differences in the Kiss tour books. It really is.
Yeah, look, I remember from when you were on Kiss My Collectibles, you saw that I posted on there about the Asylum book and the
Yes.
misprint. And I think I was probably one of the 3 people in the world that cared about it. But that's how I get about this stuff. I'm like, oh, look, there's a misprint in the Asylum book on page 17. There's 2 versions.
I've been looking for that version too.
Have you been really?
Yeah, I have been. I would like to get that one because it's like the pages are blue and pink, and what yours both blue?
Yeah, so I have both, right? There's both blue, and then there's one that's one side is blue, one side is pink. And I think that's the misprint from what I can tell.
Okay.
Right, because it's the Bruce. It's 2 pages Bruce, and it's supposed to looks like be all blue in the background, but they misprinted. It seems like one in pink on one side of the page only.
Yeah.
From what
I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember which was which.
Right, of course. And from what I can gather, it looked like it was about 17 shows or so that it was sold with the pink background. Because I started asking around, oh, where did you buy your tour book? What does it look like?
Yeah.
And I know for sure the first 17 shows, there's some people that have that pink background. After that, I haven't been able to confirm anything. So that's, just...
It's tough at this point because it's
Of
so
course.
long ago, and people, they either had it or they got rid of it or it ended up in wherever. So, but listen, I love tour books. I really love tour books.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I hope you do that. I hope you do that Facebook page because to me,
I'm gonna
good. That's
consider it done.
consider me on it, the page, because I love it. So, anything else you want to tell us about before we wrap up here?
No, listen, I just want to thank everyone, and you included in this, for watching the films, for sharing them, for talking about them. It's awesome, and I'm so thankful that I'm able to do this, and I'm so thankful that people enjoy it. There's so many artists out there that they do what they love, and maybe people don't enjoy it or doesn't connect with people. This is connected with so many people, and it's awesome. So thank you. I can't say enough, and I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. I really do.
No, it's a great product. I don't mind. I don't promote everybody's products because I have so many people. Oh, do you promote this, and I'm not into that. Yours was worth promoting to me because
thank you.
It's that good, and like I said before, I'm excited to see the next one. And when the next one comes out, you're going to be on again so we could talk about and plug that one.
The guys over at Podcast Rock City said that too, so it's very, very cool to be wanted back like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, we've been trying to get this going for a while. I mean,
Yes.
you do a lot of traveling, I do a lot of working, so
Yes.
I was very thankful for you hanging on with me and for letting me come on and blab about the greatest show on earth. Because let me tell you, if you're a Kiss fan and you want to see Kiss at the pinnacle, you got to watch the greatest show on earth.
Absolutely. No, 100%. I agree. That's a great way to close. I'm sorry to keep you waiting for like 2 months to do this.
It was worth it. It was worth it.
But I had
really
a great
was.
time, a great chat.
Me too.
Everybody go check out that video. Where is it again, Andrew?
It's on Vimeo, and I'll send you a link so that way you could link it in your description.
Awesome. That'll be great. And thanks everybody for watching. Andrew, thanks
Thank you.
for joining. And everybody, talk to you soon. Hit my subscribe button over there. Check out my Facebook page, The Rock and Roll Experience with Mike Brunn. And check out Andrew's video. Thanks again, everybody. Peace out.